Since its earliest days, hip hop has been shaped by space and place. Space refers to the physical environments, location, and geography that gave rise to the culture. Hip hop began in the 1970s South Bronx, and at this time, it was an urban landscape scarred by disinvestment and neglect. Local policies slashed funding for youth programs, after school initiatives, and community centers. Buildings burned or were left abandoned. This and so much more left young people with very few resources. In that vacuum, hip hop emerged. Parks, schoolyards, community classrooms, and block parties became improvised creative laboratories. The limits of the physical environment became the architecture of innovation. Place, on the other hand, is the meaning, emotion, and cultural identity people breathe into a location. Place comes alive through memory, struggle, joy, grief, and community. Place exists in relation. Place gives space its soul. It is shaped by the people who live there, the way they express themselves, their fashion, their stories, their resilience. As hip hop traveled the world, it carried this relationship between space and place with it. Everywhere it landed, it adapted and absorbed local histories, local politics, local soundscapes, and local cultural specificities. And the same is true for hip hop in Toronto. Hip hop in Toronto began its origins in 1983 with Ron Nelson's radio show, Fantastic Voyage, which aired on TMU's, formerly Ryerson's, radio station, CKLN FM. Ron was the first to bring and popularize not only hip hop, but dancehall and reggae to Canadian radio. As Ron's show gained popularity, he began hosting local hip hop shows at the concert hall and other various venues around the city, including opportunities for emerging MCs to hit the stage and battle at Monster Jams, and other DJ battles and sound system clash events. The majority of his events were featured on Toronto's reigning sound crews at the time, including Sunshine Sound, Kilowatt Crew, and Chic Dynasty. Concert Hall became a favorable location as young people across the GTA, all the way from Jane and Finch to Regent Park to Scarborough, could access it by subway and meet in one centralized location in the heart of the city. Many venues held racially discriminatory beliefs and concerns at the correlation between violence, gangs, and the growing hip hop community. The concert hall was one of the only spaces in the city that would host Ron's all ages productions. Nelson released B-Boy Destruction in '88 in response to the media portraying hip hop events as violent, even so much as having police threatening to cancel shows. In those days, before smartphones and online communities, these events were the only time hip hop heads from different neighborhoods could come together to celebrate the music they all collectively loved. As Ron's show gained popularity, he was met with pressing demands to bring in American hip-hop acts. The concert hall was one of the first venues to see American names such as Public Enemy, Run DMC, KRS-One, Cypress Hill, Pete Rock, and CL Smooth, just to name a few. Hip-hop was fundamentally brought to Canada through this space. But let's hear some of the stories from Ron himself.
I came here in 72, and at that point, people can't imagine it, but Canada was a whole different place. There was not any black radio station. There was, I guess, hardly any black people here. I got into a university that had a radio station in it, and I had visions of filling those gaps in those spaces by putting the music on the radio. When I brought black music to CKLN, CKLN was a punk rock underground new wave radio station, and it was fresh, it was new, and it was the right time. So eventually, they kind of accepted it as part of an underground movement. I was not a b-boy before I started Fantastic Voyage. Before I was just a regular kid. It went from being a DJ to now the audience saying, hey, can you bring some of these shows, bring some of these artists that we're hearing to the city? You look around, there's nobody doing it. Nobody cares. Nobody sees the future. Nobody has that underground to say, there's a lot of people that you don't know about that's kind of gathering into the whole community, which would be a hip hop community later on down the years. And we feel that excitement. So that's why I did it, because nobody else was doing it. If somebody else was already doing it, I would have just kept being a DJ, right? So now you're DJ, you're a promoter, and now um, all these cats want to start recording. There's no recording studio. That's another space. So I built a recording studio. Um, People want an education. They want to learn about hip hop. I teach hip hop, taught hip hop at York University for 11 years. So all these things kept coming at me that were, I guess, shape shifting when you look back
I like that
the
word.
decades and the years. But once you enter that space, then it can become your life.
Did you notice with the monster jams or bringing in the big names, how did those spaces shift and shapeshift with the
It
different
snuck up on
methods?
me, man. It
Yeah.
snuck up on me. I think the record labels started playing a part, and I brought Public Enemy up 4 times in my concert career, and I promoted Public Enemy to a black people market at that time. The traditional way we put up posters in all the black areas, all the poor areas, all the record stores, wherever black people went, Tuesday night at the movies downtown, we'd be handing out flyers. And then after all that, I went to the concert hall, and there's a long lineup of people waiting to come in, and they're all white people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen this happen before. Almost every white person came in through the door. They bought a T-shirt before they went into the concert hall. Black people, we didn't have money to buy shit. Where all the black people went with that second concert, I still don't know. They never came to support Public Enemy, but it didn't matter because those white kids ate it up. We had 1,100 people there in the concert hall that night, and I'd swear 1,000 of them were white. And I went on record as saying, if it wasn't for those kids, I would have lost my shirt.
It's curious that the Masonic Temple became one of the gathering places for the Toronto hip hop scene. The Masonites themselves were the architects of this settler colonial state, even the first Prime Minister John A. Macdonald as one of the members. But hip hop architects were creating community against the impacts of colonial policies, attitudes, and behaviors, filling gaps and transforming space into places of meaning. Ron and so many others of the pioneering hip hop generation, made up of predominantly black and West Indian youth, did not see themselves represented in the media and radio, so they made the spaces themselves. Young people found power through their voices, through dance, through music, filling their souls, and by extension, cultivating it within spaces in the city. We honor and share the legacy of these people and places because the foundation of Canada's hip hop history often lies in the shadows of Drake's legacy and the predominant American hip hop canon. We focus our attention on the physical spaces that allow culture to thrive and tell their stories, especially in a time in Toronto as we continually see iconic venues closing their doors and redevelopment plans taking municipal priority over preserving local culture.
Your radio station being the only 60-plus rapper in Canada. Like, you seem to find these gaps, do you know what I mean? And I was wondering
I
if you
think the
knew.
gaps find me. It's a little bit of purposefulness. Like if you ever live by the theory that, you're kind of meant to do something, you're born with a purpose kind of thing. I don't know why a 10-year-old kid from Jamaica can come to Canada and enter a whole different space and thrive instead of just survive, and take advantage of opportunities by seeing those open spaces that you're talking about. And there were a lot of open spaces at that time. And I feel like in my journey, you couldn't help but step inside some of those spaces, and because they were there. The fact that when I entered the space of music and hip hop and trying to champion that whole thing, I didn't know that would be my life, but it's been my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't choose that space. I think that space was chosen for me.